And now we have on Anita, who is our guest. Josh, would you introduce Anita tonight?
Yes, her name is Anita Martirosian, and she's part of Homeschool California. Had an event earlier this week, and she's going to tell us some great news that was happening there. And I think our very own friend there,
Denise
Soto, was there as well. So, Anita, thanks for coming on.
How are you this evening, Anita?
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
It's good to talk to you again. Hey,
likewise.
You went to an event here this week. Tell us about that event. What was the name of it? What went on there?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so guys, just a little background information. I'm a mommy of a 3-year-old, and then so a while back, my husband and I thought about homeschooling, but it didn't become solidified in us until all of this stuff started happening with, the Common Core coming in, and then the new sex ed curriculum, and then the mandatory vaccinations. So all of these issues kind of led me to wanting to get more information about homeschooling. And I was lucky enough to run into Denise Soto through a friend of mine, actually, who's also an educator and knows her. And then I was like one day at her house, and I said, Denise, let's do a little, Q&A. And I got all this information out of her, and then I was like, Denise, we need to put together workshops. Why don't you come to my house in a few weeks, and I'll gather a few of my friends who want to homeschool, who are thinking about this, and maybe you can give us some information and we can pick your brain. So she said she agreed to it, wonderful. I love her. She came over and she gave us all the information. She was so prepared. She passed around packets and she just simplified the process. Before that, we were completely lost as to, how do we begin? What is this homeschooling thing? Are we isolating our kids? Is this a bad thing? Is it going to work for us? And we learned that actually it's a very healthy thing. And in fact, a lot of people are opting to do this now because of all the issues. So after that homeschooling thing, I went away on vacation, and then I had all of these moms who were part of it contact me. Anita, we need to get together again. We need to do this again. And it prompted me to create a Facebook page called United Homeschoolers of Los Angeles, which, by the way, you can find
and
join. Thank you. And then, all of a sudden, within 2 days, we had 50 followers, and now it grew to over 80. So it's multiplying by the day. And, all of a sudden there was a need to do another workshop because all these new parents were coming forward wanting to hear Denise Soto.
So is that the workshop that you had this past week?
Exactly. So
now, when the parents came to the workshop, they expressed an interest in homeschooling. What was the driving force in their choice or in their interest in homeschooling? Was it sex ed, quality of education, violence, safety, political indoctrination? What were they saying?
Well, actually, the top 2 reasons were the mandatory vaccinations,
really,
and of course the sex ed. And all the other stuff too. But, these were the 2 main concerns. In fact, we had a mommy who was in tears when she was introducing herself because she has one kid who's completely sick, and they're mandating him to get vaccinated to go to school, and she's a working mom, and she can't do that because apparently the kid has something serious. She's
right.
She's like, come on, guys, telling the doctor, I can't do this. My kid is already sick. If you can sign a paper saying that my kid is not going to get sicker or die because of these vaccines, then sure, go ahead.
Right.
And, of course, the doctor doesn't want to do that. So she's, in tears, crying. And then, of course, she talked to Denise Soto that night. And then all of a sudden she was, at peace, and everyone was happy. We had, 20 people there.
All right, so vaccinations were one of them. Sex ed. Tell me the sad stories about sex ed.
Well, we had some teachers who were actually confessing that this is happening. One of them was a history teacher. She's like, the LGBT stuff is all in history now, and I have to teach it. And she goes, I try to bypass it as much as I can, and so far, thankfully, they haven't said anything.
So she's a teacher, and she's interested in homeschooling her kids.
Well, she had brought in some people who were interested in homeschooling. She's interested in becoming a teacher for us homeschoolers.
I gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So she's looking at it from a business perspective, which is great. Or professional. I have no problems with that. We're capitalists here. So now now they also had great interest, I would assume, in school choice. I would assume, or was there no interest?
Actually, school choice wasn't brought up this time.
Really? Why not?
About that because our session was so short, we didn't get to go into it. And I think I don't know why that didn't happen, but all of these moms, all of these parents who came, I'm sure are going to be interested in it. And we have a page now where we talk about these things. And yes, it needs to be introduced properly, and we have, their information, and I'm sure they're going to be all for it. Mm-hmm.
All right, back with you. I just had a message offline there. So in any event, it didn't come up, but how about yourself? What is your attitude, Denise, about school choice?
Anita,
I'm sorry. I was thinking
no
your Goomba there.
You're so funny.
Yeah.
Well, school choice was introduced to me like maybe a few months ago.
Yeah.
And, I came in person and met you, Mike, and,
yes.
We went over it, and I love the idea. I love the idea of parents and families receiving the funding directly themselves and choosing to do whatever they want with it.
Yes. And this is a good time. As audiences change. We have regular listeners, and some people are just joining us on a Sunday night back from wherever they're coming back from. And so our proposal for school choice will be found at californiaschoolchoice.org. It is very simple. We have embraced almost in its entirety a proposal created by Senator John Morlock down in Orange County. And this initiative is called the Educational Freedom Act, and if passed, would have several key features. First of all, following the passage of the initiative, an educational savings account, shorthand known as ESA, would be created for each K through 12 child in California. Number two, into that account would be annually deposited or credited, if you will, the pro rata amount of money spent by the state of California under Prop 98. That's runs about 45% of the state budget. Number three, that money can be spent on a school of the parent's choice, whether it be a public school, a chartered school, or an accredited private or, trigger warning, parochial school. And number four, and this is a big deal for homeschoolers, number four, any money not so used could be used for other qualified, approved educational expenses or saved and used for college of your choice.
Well, here's what I got to say about that. I love the idea because I know once we talked, Mike, and you were saying, well, we're still working on it being approved for homeschoolers. But since you brought up charter school, a lot of people end up homeschooling through charter school. So if the funds go to a charter school, a homeschooler can still use that because Anita, you know who knows that better than anybody else? The enemy. Now, by the way, I don't care what people do. I just want to give them the option to do it. And so I wish public schools well. They're going to get a lot better after we pass school choice. I guarantee it. They're going to have to build a statue to me. The man who did the most,
bronze or copper or
they'll put it where they're the most pigeons. Put it at any rate. The man who did more to improve public schools. But I wish them well. They're going to improve markedly. Same way with charter schools. But I'll tell you right now, anybody who's listening, charter schools are dead. There's a campaign to eliminate them. They're limiting where they can be put physically. They're turning over these charter schools to local school boards and everybody else. These things are dead. So any homeschoolers who think that you can dodge the bullet and not get active on school choice, you're mistaken. The only way the charter schools will survive is if there's there's school choice. And we have met with charter school associations, and believe me, they get it. They understand. We're not competitors. And by the way, the homeschoolers have shown American Yankee know-how and adaptability, because you guys have gone out there. We got a few more minutes left. Why don't you tell me how some homeschoolers have been using charter schools and other devices, gimmicks, if you will, tricks of the trade, to get a decent education for the kids?
Who, me?
If you know, if you could.
I know how. Yeah, I mean, Denise knows. I don't know if she's on the call with us, but
no, I don't think so.
Know. For instance, I called Sage Oak Charter School right the next day to get some more information, and it's very simple. I mean, when you're a homeschooler, if you team up with a charter school, I mean, they provide an educational specialist who comes to you once a month to kind of oversee what you're doing, and that's totally optional. And then they put like $2,700 in your account. I think it's like not per month, but maybe it's per month. I can't remember if it was per year or per month, but they provide the funding for you to, sign your kid up for extracurricular activities or certain programs, and, like through their vendors. So they simplify the process, and the charter school itself doesn't have tuition fees.
Right.
So it's very simple to do, and there's curriculum out there, different types of things that you can choose from. But you totally tailor it to your liking, and you don't have to take these sex ed classes and these obnoxious things that are happening right now.
And they hate that. They hate that because the charter schools have found a way to get paid for your kid, right?
Yeah.
They get money. And as you pointed out, you don't have to take their goofy classes, and you can escape. And folks out there, I really, you really need to understand what's going on with these public schools. Yes, it's corruption and typical bureaucratic inefficiency, but behind all of that is a totalitarian determination to take complete and total control of the family, of the indoctrination. They own your soul, they own your body, they own your mind, and this must be resisted. This country took a really bad turn 100 years ago when we turned our kids over to the government for education. And it's got nothing but worse since then. It ain't, forgive the bad grammar, it ain't going to get any better. It's all going to get worse, and gets worse each and every day.
It does. And you know what? A lot of these homeschooling moms were like, the sex ed thing, we understand the differences and stuff, but it doesn't need to be taught at a kindergarten level. No. Are they crazy?
That's right.
That.
No,
we don't have
you get to decide, and we're just tired of arguing with these people. Why are we arguing? It's like you sitting there in your home, eating your dinner, and some jerk from government doesn't even knock, walks in, sits down, and starts telling you what you're going to eat, when it's going to be served. No, I don't want that. Hey, would you mind telling me who are you? Who invited you into my home? How about get the hell out? We're Americans. We're Americans, and as Americans and as parents, we need to tell these people, get the hell out of our lives. In fact, just go to hell. That's it. We want our money back. We want our kids back. We want our country back. We want our Constitution back. And as I discussed with Eric Early here later, the people who are stealing our Constitution and trying to get rid of a duly elected president are the same people that run your public school. Make no mistake about it. It's the same people. It's the same mindset. It's the same set of objectives.
And Mike, and it's actually an interesting time because what it is we've given them too much control, and we're taking that back.
You take your kid back first. Take the kid back. Take the money back. No,
exactly. Yep.
It's our money. It's our kids. It's our choice. Thank you to Steve Smith, author of our wonderful motto. I want to thank you, Anita, for coming on. I want to thank you for being a great mom. Thank you for being a great American, and everything has been fantastic having you on. Go to CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org. Sign up. Give us some love. Keep us on the air. I want to thank Brooke, our incredible call screener. She's in there listening. And Jeff, best board man in the business. Thank you, Josh. Thanks, being Mike. With you tonight. And especially all of you out there, thank you for being part of our audience. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Mike Alexander saying goodbye. See you next Sunday night at 8 p.m.